Welcome to episode 21 of R2P Origins. This episode, we're going to really piggyback on last episode where we were talking about creating a record label. So I'm a big believer that R2P as the hub is the record label, and we have a ton of very, very talented artists that have decided to join us, and it's up to the company to serve them. Not the other way around. The company needs to serve them and ideally create a place for them to view themselves developing, growing their career, hopefully staying with us for a very, very long time, if not their entire career. Especially as the company's growing, there's a lot of opportunities for our people to also grow with R2P. But when we talk about creating opportunities, they look very, very different. And sometimes they seem like a home run, and other times, there's a little bit of back and forth. But needless to say, my number one uncle, Zach Baker, otherwise known as Dr. Zach Baker, had been with R2P, had been with me since day one, and he grew up very, very close to a town called Mount Airy. And it is definitely a town, less like a city. And if I'm being fully honest, does not fit our typical site survey when it comes to certain things, especially if we start just at the number of people and the population density in that area. But our Frederick location had gotten to the point where, to be quite honest, it was beyond what I thought it could be at from a capacity standpoint. And we were trying to figure out what we could possibly do to alleviate this almost overcrowding, so to speak. Wanted to make sure that we still maintained the same kind of environment, especially given the fact that we had a 10-year lease and we were only 2 years into our lease at that point. So we started to look a little bit closer to Zach's home at this town called Mount Airy. Made me a little bit nervous, but at the end of the day, I was willing to bet on Zach. I was willing to bet on the company in terms of some of the systems and processes that we had put in place. The build-out process was very, very different. So Germantown, for those who are familiar with lease negotiation, was a pretty much turnkey build-out. They allotted us a certain amount of tenant improvements, and we were able to go under the amount of money that they had allocated towards the build-out. So we actually got a check back. Mount Airy, they just said, hey, here's your amount of money, but you have to spend it first before we pay you back. So a little different situation. Us going with somebody who I had a relationship with while I was at Frederick Indoor Sports Center, while the company was there as a sublease. So Pedro Andrade and Green State Enterprises were a big part of us building that space out. It is a little bit more, I would say, maybe industrial than we're used to. There wasn't a ton of business park or medical space in the Mount Airy area, but it's in a great spot, very, very close to downtown, and the relationships that Zach had, in addition to some plotting of, how far people were driving to get to Frederick, which was actually at the time over 10 miles on average to come see us. Made it an easier decision for us to make. But needless to say, the Mount Airy location opened on May, I believe it was 28th or 27th, right around Memorial Day weekend. And we started that location with Zach splitting at Frederick and Mount Airy, wanting to put him in that area director role. And as I mentioned, Dr. Cal, him popping in and being the site director and working with Zach to get that place up and running. It is our biggest location, but as some of the things that I mentioned earlier, in a place with less population density, less people, it's a little bit more of an inexpensive place, but a growing community, and one in which we've had deep roots, whether or not it's the high schools there, some of our fitness partners there, and obviously Zach and just the Baker family being in that area for an extended period of time. The relationships made it much, much easier for us to get off the ground. One of my favorite parts about the Mount Airy location in particular are the doors that go up in the back, and we've done a great job at putting windows from top to bottom, probably about 20 some feet high, and it gives you a beautiful, beautiful view of a back parking lot area and a little bit of the pond behind the building. But we have an amazing team there at this point. Dr. Greg Ellis, who's also, you can follow him at Sports Rehab Advisor, and Dr. Stephanie Hamilton also have joined us at that location. It's a great group. They're doing a great job at R2P3, and they are supported by two tremendous people at our front desk. Both Shannon and Michelle have done a really, really good job, and they're from the community, which once again just shows all of the different community ties and allows us to do what we want to do, which is be that community-facing business, be that business that's out in the community, connected with the people, aware of what's going on, and really, really making as much impact as possible. So thanks for tuning in, episode 21 of R2P Origins. Stay tuned.